As you know that Mill has given 5 experimental methods in order to find out the causal relationship between two events. We have already discussed the method of agreement and the method of difference. Today, we shall discuss the 3 other methods of experimental inquiry. Those 3 are the joint method of agreement and difference, the method of concomitant variation and the method of residues. First of all, we shall take up the joint method of agreement and difference. As you see, the name suggests what the method is going to follow. It is the combination of two methods already we have discussed, that is the method of agreement and the method of difference. In case of method of agreement, we were trying to find out the common factor of agreement between the antecedent side and the consequent side. And in the difference method, we have tried to find out the single point of difference between the antecedent and the consequent factors. Here, instead of just joining the two or combining the two, we take two sets of instances. One set is positive set of instance and another set is the negative set of instance, where the fact which we are going to discuss occurs, the phenomenon which occurs in one set and in another set it does not occur. The set in which it occurs, that is treated as the positive set, and the case where it does not occur, it is treated as the negative set. And we shall discuss how the positive set and the negative sets are taken into account to find out a better method, that is the joint method of agreement and difference. Mill has given the canon for this method in this following manner, that is, if two or more instances in which the phenomenon occurs have only one circumstance in common, that means it refers to the positive set, while two or more instances it does not occur, save nothing in common, save the absence of that circumstance, that means we are talking of the negative set. The circumstance in which alone the two sets of instances differ is the effect or the cause or an indispensable part of the cause of the phenomenon. Once again the canon: if two or more instances in which the phenomenon occurs have only one circumstance in common, while two or more instances in which it does not occur have nothing in common, save the absence of that circumstance, the circumstance in which alone the two sets of instances differ is the effect or the cause or an indispensable part of the cause of the phenomenon. Now, as you know that every method follows some principle of elimination, this method also follows the principle of elimination, how to eliminate the unnecessary factors or irrelevant factors which cannot be taken for the consideration of causal relationship. And since it is mostly a modification of first method, that is the method of agreement, it also takes into account the principle of elimination which is followed in the method of agreement. This method is based both on the first and second principle of elimination, as it is a modification of the method of agreement and difference. So, first principle of elimination is that whatever antecedent can be left out without prejudice to the effect can be no part of the cause. This we have already discussed. However, once again I am telling to refresh your memory, that is, whatever antecedent can be left out, we can leave some antecedent and it does not affect the effect, then that cannot be the cause. Similarly, the second principle of elimination is this, that when an antecedent cannot be left out without consequent disappearing, such antecedent must be the cause or part of the cause. First principle says what cannot be the cause, second principle says what can be the cause, and it is like this. If you take away something, some antecedent and the effect also goes away, then we can relate the two by the help of the causal relationship. We know that there is one antecedent side and one consequent side. When we find some consequence, we try to find out the cause. Suppose the consequence is the disturbance in the classroom, there is some disturbance in the classroom. Now, we ask why to go out and consequence is still there, that means the disturbance is still there. Then according to first principle of elimination, y cannot be the cause, because after taking away y, the consequence is still there. So, y cannot be the cause. Now, suppose we ask x to go away, then the disturbance is not there. Then according to second principle of elimination, x is the cause, because if we take away the x, the consequence also goes away. Therefore, it is decided that x is the cause of the effect, that consequence. Now, this method can be expressed by the help of symbolic example, as we find that the two other methods were also expressed by the help of symbolic example. The symbolic example will be given by the help of two shades, that is positive shade and negative shade, and it can be given in this manner, that ABC is followed by ABC, ABC capital followed by small ABC, and that a capital ABC represents the factors of antecedent side, the small letter ABC represent the symbolize the factors of consequent side. Now, is ADC followed by ADC, AED followed by AED, it is the positive shade, where we find that A is common in antecedent side and also small a is common in the consequent side. In the negative shade, we do not find A, BCD followed by BCD, DEC followed by DEC, DEF followed by DEF. Now, by taking into account the both positive set as well as negative set, in the positive set in all the cases A followed by small a, and in the negative set A is absent, therefore, small is also absent. We can find out the causal relationship between the capital A and small a by saying that A and A are causally related, or A is the cause of A. Now, let us take some concrete examples of this method. Suppose some will argue in this manner that MS Dhoni, when has led the Indian cricket team won, and when Dhoni was absent to lead, the team loses. Here, on the basis of this positive and negative instance, we can reach out the causal relationship between the cause of winning and the presence of the captainship of Dhoni. So, the example can be formulated in this manner, that when MS Dhoni is the captain of Indian team, the team wins, and when Dhoni is absent, the team loses. The captaincy of Dhoni is the cause of winning the team, other circumstances remaining as it is. Let us take another example of this. Whenever Hitler fought, he won, but whenever he was absent, the battle was lost. So, it is implied that Hitler was the cause of winning the wars. So, here also we have taken both positive and negative instances into account in order to reach out the causal relationship. We can also see numbers of examples in our day to day life. Suppose we use one particular detergent powder, we get very good cleaning, and when we do not use that detergent powder, we do not get good cleaning, then we can connect the two detergent powder, that particular detergent powder with the good cleaning of the clothes, and this is on the basis of this joint method of agreement and difference. Being impressed by this method, various logicians have given different names to this method. So, what are the other names given to this method? Fowler calls this method, Fowler the logician, Fowler calls this method the method of double method of agreement, the double method of agreement. Bain calls this method the method of double agreement. Mill, the founder of this method, he calls this method the indirect method of difference. Method of difference decides something directly, the difference, and here we indirectly apply the method of difference in one positive set, in a one negative set. Venn calls this method to be the method of exclusion. So, in this manner, this particular method has four other names. One is the double method of agreement by Fowler, the method of double agreement by Bain, the indirect method of difference by Mill, and the method of exclusion by Venn. Now, we have already discussed the characteristics of two different methods, and we have to also see what are the characteristics of this particular method, the joint method of agreement and difference. First one, the method of agreement and the method of difference are applied jointly, leading to a modified method, and the joint method is the method of agreement and difference. So, it is not a primary method, it is a modified method, and the modification has been done with respect to the method of agreement and difference. So, the second characteristic can be the joint method is not a primary method, it is the modification of the method of agreement and the method of difference. Another characteristic would be the joint method is considered to be a method of proof. As you know that the method of difference was considered to be the method of proof. It was not it was based on types of experiments. Similarly, here also we prove the causal relationship. So, joint method is considered to be a method of proof. The causal relation suggested by the method of agreement is confirmed by the negative instances, and this method gives dependable causal relationship if the negative instances are exhaustive. Now, what are the advantages? The most important advantage of this method is that it is a dependable and reliable method. That means, the causal relationship we reach by the help of this method can be accepted by all. So, the method becomes more reliable if the instances chosen carefully. This method is applicable to observation and experiment. Since there is the use of both agreement and difference, as you know that agreement is the method of observation and difference is the method of experiment. So, this method is applicable to observation as well as experiment. And another important advantage of this method is that this method has wide range of application. We can apply this method in science, in our day to day life, in finding out the law of causation. So, we have a wide range of application. We have already seen that the method of observation is always very wide in its nature. So, since it takes into account both observation and experiment, observations depends upon the nature, experiments are under our control, and since this method depends or uses both, it has very wide range of application. Since this method has wide range of application, it is free from difficulties arising out of the plurality of causes. You know that in both the previous methods, we had seen plurality of causes was most important disadvantage of those two methods. And first method of agreement was treated to be having characteristic imperfection because of it was not applicable to the cases of plurality of causes. But it is very important to find out here that this joint method of agreement helps in taking or finding the causal relationship even in cases of plurality of causes, because by the help of addition of the negative set, the plurality of cases of plurality of causes are mostly overlooked. Now, the negative instances help us to avoid the unconnected and unnecessary common antecedent. Sometimes this common antecedent mislead others or mislead us to find out the causal relationship, but because we take the negative instances into account in this particular case or in this method, we are liable to commit a safer way of reaching at the causal relationship, and we can easily avoid the unnecessary elements in this method. Now, disadvantages. The first point of disadvantage is the joint method fails in case of permanent causes. As you know that method of difference was incapable of being applied in case of permanent causes. This is also the case where the joint method cannot be applied. The joint method fails in case of permanent causes, since it is impossible to discover negative instances in such cases. The permanency of certain factors stands on the way of find out the causal relationship, because negative instances are not possible in those cases. Now, the second point of disadvantage is that the joint method fails to distinguish the cause from coexistence. We know that coexistence cases are such cases where two phenomena present simultaneously or occur simultaneously, and since they occur simultaneously, they will be also absent simultaneously. So, if we take positive set, then there will find the occurrence of those phenomena, and if we take the negative set, there we will find the absence, and on the basis of the presence and absence, we may be tempted to find out a causal relationship between the two, but that might not be there, because those are the cases of coexistences, not cases of the having causal relationship. And the same example is applicable here, as we have discussed it in case of method of agreement, that lightning and thunder both exist together and they exist together, but one cannot be treated to be the cause of the other, and those are the cases of coexistences. Similarly, there are many other cases of coexistences. So, we have to be careful that by this method we might not be misled by the cases of coexistences to reach out the causal relationship. And another point of disadvantage is the joint method is not useful in case of intermixture of effects or in case of complex effects. We have already discussed what is the case of intermixture of effects, where many phenomena occur in a combined way in a complex manner, we are unable to distinguish which factor is responsible for which one. That means, we are incapable of separating one factor from the other, and those cases are treated to be the cases of intermixture of effects. And as example, I have said that when we find that a very big group of musicians are playing some orchestra, we cannot distinguish each element of the music or each element of the music related to particular instrument. So, that becomes the example of intermixture of effects, and this method has the limitation that it will not be helpful in case of deciding the causal relationship if there is intermixture of effects or complex effects. Now, coming to the another point of defect, the joint method fails to distinguish between cause and condition. This is a very important problem with the methods, that very often most important conditions which lead to the occurrence of the effect are confused to be the cause. Cause is not equal with the condition. Cause is the sum totality of condition. So, we must be careful that whether it is the condition or whether it is let me give you one example of understanding how cause and conditions are different. Suppose somebody is drowning. Very often we say that some the drowning is due to not knowing the swimming, and death occurs because of the drowning. So, here the not knowing the swimming happens to be one of the very important condition which may be treated to be the cause. Even someone does not know swimming, the possibility of escaping the person was also there. So, we cannot take the condition to be the sole cause. It is one of the important conditions for the cause of the cause. So, in this manner there is every possibility that we may confuse between cause and condition by the while applying this method or while using this method. So, we must be careful about these advantages and also disadvantages while using this method. So, in this manner we have seen the joint method of agreement and difference, which has utilized the basics of the two previous methods, that is the method of agreement and method of difference. Now, we shall proceed to the next method, that is the method of concomitant variation. It is the method of concomitant variation. First, let us know what is concomitant variation. Variation is difference, vary, to vary means to differ, and if there is a regulative manner way of variation, then we say that it is a concomitant variation, that means a systematic variation, systematic difference. So, very often we find the this type of occurrences or variations in our day to day life also. Say for example, there is a constant increase of rates in of the products, and that is a type of variation from 10 rupees to 15, 15 to 20, 20 to 30. So, when the rate increases in this manner, it is a case of variation. Similarly, fall of rates is also a variation, fall of temperature is also a variation. So, if there is a systematic or regulative way of variation we find, we can say that it is a case of concomitant variation. And how we can find out a causal relationship by taking these kinds of variation into account, that is what will be discussed under this method, that is the method of concomitant variation. Mill's canon to this method is that whatever phenomenon varies in any manner, whenever another phenomenon varies in some particular manner is either a cause or an effect of the phenomenon or is connected with it through some fact of causation. Try to understand it, it is very easy. Whatever phenomenon varies in any manner, when another phenomenon varies in some particular manner is either cause or an effect of the phenomenon or is connected with it through some fact of causation. Let me give you one example to understand this canon. Suppose there is a constant increase in the price of the gold, then definitely the selling of the gold will be fall in the market. So, when there is increase of price and we find also there is a decrease of sale, we can relate the increase of price with the decrease of the sale by this method. So, try to understand the canon taking this example into account. Whatever phenomenon varies in any manner, that means there is increase of rate. Whenever another phenomenon varies, that means there is decrease of sale in particular manner, that means decrease in particular manner is either a cause or an effect or of the phenomenon or is connected with it through some fact of causation. Now, like all other methods, it also follows some principle of elimination, eliminating the unnecessary factors, and this follows the third principle of elimination, that is an antecedent and consequent rising and falling together in numerical concomitants are to be held cause and effect. It may rise together, it may fall together, or there may be rise and there may be fall following to each other. So, an antecedent and a consequent rising and falling together in numerical, that means it not qualitatively, in numerical concomitants, that means number wise. There is increase in 10 to 15, 15 to 20, it is number wise. Similarly, the sale decreases from 2 lakhs to 1 lakh, 1 lakh to 50,000 like this. So, if there is a vary in numerical basis, then they can be related causally. So, here only quantitative variations are taken into account in case of the method of concomitant variation. Though it is said concomitant variation, variation can be qualitative variation, quantitative variation, but in this method only quantitative variation is taken into account and other factors other than variation are not taken into account by this method. Now, coming to symbolic example. The symbolic example of this method is almost like the method of agreement, very much like the method of agreement, only addition is there is numerical variations. So, now you see the symbolic examples that A1 BC followed by A1 BC. Like others, ABC capital refers to antecedent factors and ABC's small letters refer to consequent factors. Now, A2 instead of A1 again A2 BC followed by A2 BC, A3 BC followed by A3 BC, therefore, A is the cause of A, or the same alternative examples can be used here that A1 BC followed by A1 BC, A2 DE not BC, DE followed by A2 DE, now A3 FG followed by A3 FG, therefore, A is the cause of A. So, in this manner we can make use of the symbolical example for understanding this method. Now, coming to the concrete example. I have already giving you one concrete example, that is again I am stating here. When the price of gold increases, the demand for gold decreases. So, the price and the demand are causally related. So, by the help of this concomitant relationship, we can decide the causal relationship between the demand of the gold and increase of the price in particular manner. Now, coming to another example, when heat increases in the body, the mercury in the thermometer expands. Hence, heat is the cause of the expansion of the mercury. So, here also we can find how there is a variation between the increase and decrease of heat in the body and increase and decrease of the level of mercury in the thermometer. So, these are the concrete examples of the method of concomitant variation. Now, coming to the characteristics of this method. The method of concomitant variation is not a primary method, because it is either a modification of the method of agreement or a modification of the method of difference. It is a modification of the method of difference if the accompanying circumstances are same in all the instances, and it is modification of the method of agreement if the accompanying circumstances are different in the instances. So, taking the accompanying circumstances into account, we can decide that it is the modification of method of agreement and or it is a method of modification of method of difference. As you know that in case of method of difference, all these other factors remain constant, there is only one difference. So, if that type of variation is there, then it is the modification of method of difference. And if, as you know that in case of method of agreement, other factors differ, there is single agreement. If the variation is like that, then it becomes the modification of method of agreement. So, it is not a primary method, it is again treated as a modification of either method of agreement, which is a primary method, or method of difference, which also is a primary method. Now, coming to another characteristics, which is one important characteristic of this method, that it is a graphic method. We see in a graphic pattern, either there is increase or there is fall. So, the increase or fall can be presented by the help of a graph. So, or by the help of some statistics. So, this method is otherwise known as a graphic method or a statistical method. The method is treated as a graphic method or a statistical method, since the method depends on the quantitative aspects of causation, and it can be represented graphically or statistically in a tabular form. We can consider this method to be a graphic method or a statistical method. Now, coming to another characteristics, the method of concomitant variation is a method of discovery as well as proof. It is a method of discovery as well as proof. We can discover the causal relationship, we can also prove the causal relationship, because it depends on both observation and experiment. It is based on observation if it is a modification of method of agreement, and it is based on experiment then it is a modification of method of difference. Now, what are the advantages of this method? The conclusion is highly reliable and dependable when it is applied experimentally. Because there is the possibility of modification of method of difference, which is a very dependable method, this method is also dependable for finding out the causal relationship. Now, another most important advantage of this method is that all other methods were failing in case of permanent causes. First three methods, agreement, difference and also joint method of agreement and difference, where failing in case of the permanent causes, but since there is the possibility of variation, we refer to the cases of variation, this method is helpful or applicable in case of permanent causes. Permanent causes may not be eliminated, but we can find out the variations in such factors. So, heat, friction, pressure, all these cannot be taken away permanently, but there can be some variations or numerical variations in these factors. So, basing on those numerical variations, we can find out the causal relationship. Heat or pressure, they can be either increased or decreased. So, we can apply the principle of variation in case of permanent causes, and this is very important for this method. The importance of this method is that it is applicable in case of homogeneous intermixture of effects. Again, we have pointed out that method of agreement and method of joint method of agreement and difference were incapable of being applied in case of intermixture of effects, but if the intermixture of effect is homogeneous, this method of concomitant variation can be applied in such cases. So, this is also another important advantage of this method. Coming to the disadvantage of this method is not applicable in case of qualitative variations. I have said that we can take only quantitative variations into consideration, qualitative variations cannot be taken into account. So, this method is not helpful in case of qualitative variations, only it is helpful in case of quantitative variations. And the another disadvantage is that even though the method is applied quantitatively, it has certain limitations. The quantitative variation cannot be applied beyond particular limit. So, every variation has a limit and we cannot apply such beyond the limit. So, the defect of this method is that there is a point of limit for the application of this method. Now, there are three other important disadvantages. We fail to distinguish between cause and condition by this method. All the four methods suffer from this difficulty of confusing between cause and condition if not handled properly or carefully. So, that possibility is here also cannot be overlooked, that we may confuse or we may mislead for a causal relationship where a condition is mistaken as a cause. Now, this method is not applicable in case of plurality of causes. So, only we can take attempt in case of plurality of causes by the help of joint method of agreement and difference, but all the three other methods are incapable of being helping us in deciding the causal relationship in cases of plurality of causes. And the final disadvantage is that this method fails to distinguish between the cause and coexistence. As you know that coexistence cases are very much there, and if we take the causal relationship into account, there is every possibility that coexistence cases, because of following one another, may be confused as cause. So, we must be careful, and coexistence cases are not coming under the cases of under the purview of the method of concomitant variation. As you know, we have already discussed four methods of experimental inquiry given by J. S. Mill. Those methods are the method of agreement, method of difference, the joint method of agreement and difference, the method of concomitant variation. Now, the fifth method, that the last method, is the method of residues. This follows the fourth principle of elimination, which has been added by Joseph, and this is completely different type of method, mathematical method. We have to understand what is the meaning of residue. Residue means leftover. Suppose from one higher thing or more thing we deduce some less, then the remaining one is known as a residue, that is in our Odia language known as boloka. So, taking this residue into account, some method has been formulated and the name of the method is the method of residues. Now, let us listen the canon so that you can follow it. The subduct from any given phenomenon, such part is known by previous induction to be the effect of certain antecedents. The residues of the phenomenon is the effect of the remaining antecedent. Let me explain it first, then again I will read the canon, so that it will be easy for you to understand. Suppose previously we know two causes of two other effects. Now, we find the combination of 3 with those two previous effects. Since we know previously the 2, from the 3 we can deduct the 2 and know about the other one. So, that is the procedure, that we know about many, we know about some, out of many when we deduct some, the rest can be related. So, in this manner the procedure is subduct from given phenomenon such part as known by previous induction to be the effect of certain antecedents. The residues of the phenomenon is effect of the remaining antecedents. Now, as I have said, this follows the fourth principle of elimination added by Joseph, and that principle of elimination is nothing is the cause of a phenomenon which is known to be the cause of different phenomenon. If A is known to be the cause of Y, then A cannot be cause of Z. So, this is the principle applied, that nothing is the cause of a phenomenon which is known to be the cause of different phenomenon or another phenomenon. We have taken some symbolic example out of which we can take away the unnecessary factors and relate A and A or A with P in this following manner in the symbolic example. A, B, C are followed by P, Q, R. B, C are known, already known to be the cause of Q, R. So, A is cause of P, or A, B, C are followed by A, B, C. B, C are known to be the cause of B, C. So, A is cause of A. So, here we see that A, B, C and P, Q, R are more than B, C and Q, R. By subducting from A, B, C, B, C, we reach out the A. Now, concrete example. Suppose you buy 3 books and pay 180 rupees. You already know the price of 2 books, one is 50, another is 60. So, you can easily know the price of the other book. 50 and 60 will add, it will become 110, you will deduct it, subduct it from 180 and you will reach out the cost of the third book by subducting or deducting from the whole. Another example can be taken into account in this manner. A basket is full of mangoes, oranges and grapes having 60 kg. A hacker knows there are 20 kg of mangoes and 25 kg of oranges. So, the weight of grapes will be automatically 15 kg. In our day to day life also we use this method. When we weigh our oil, how do we do that? The procedure is, first we take the weight of the bottle, then both oil and bottle, then we deduce or subtract the from the total weight, the weight of the bottle, we get the weight of the oil. So, in this manner, this method uses very common thing, that if we know about sum, by deducting it from another higher than that or more than that, you can reach at the causal relationship of the rest or remaining or residue. So, coming to characteristics of this method can be said as or considered as or treated as method of deduction. It is a mathematical way, you deduce, you subtract. It is noticed that the knowledge obtained in this method is deducted from the total observational knowledge. In order to reach at the conclusion, we apply the method of deduction. That is why it is known as method of deduction. It is also considered as the method of modification of the method of difference. You will see the symbolic example, it is exactly like the method of difference. So, it is the modification of method of difference, that there is only one variation, and when you subtract it, you reach at that variation. And in both the methods, we take two instances only into account. In method of difference, we take two instances, and also in case of method of residues, we take two instances. So, in both the methods, that means method of difference and method of residues, we take two instances only, and one of which contains the phenomenon under investigation and the other does not contain it. That is how by subtract we reach at the causal relationship. And this method is useful if there is some prior knowledge of causation is available. If we know the causes of some parts of the complex effect, then remaining part can be known through the method of residues. Without knowing some, you cannot proceed in this method. So, previous knowledge, prior knowledge is essential for this method. The method of difference is said to be a method of proof. It is the modification of this method of difference. It is not a method of proof, rather it is a method of discovery. So, it is a method of discovery, not a method of proof, even though it is very much like the method of difference and a modification of method of difference. Now, one very important point has been said about Malone with regard to this method. That is, Malone has said this method is a finger post to the unexplained. That means, out of a group, what one particular which has not been explained, we can fingering it out. That means, we can point it out by the help of this method. In a complex situation, if some part of the phenomenon is not explained by the known causes, then this method may help to find out further cause to explain the whole phenomenon. For example, a gas named argon was discovered by the help of this method. When it was noticed that nitrogen obtained from the atmosphere was heavier than the nitrogen obtained from the chemical sources, then they tried to find out what is the cause of it, and they reached at the another gas, that is discovery of argon was possible out of by the help of this method, and that is how this is a method of discovery, not method of proof. Now, coming to the advantages, the method is helpful in case of intermixture of effects. Now, intermixture of effects was such a defect for all the four other methods, but this is an advantage of this method, that you can drop some instruments, you can find out the effect of other instruments. So, intermixture of effects are possible to be tackled by the help of the method of residues. Now, coming to another point of advantage of this method, since the method follows the method of experiment, it can be capable of proving of a causal relationship. That means, we discover, but we can follow the method of experiment to prove it. So, it is a method of discovery, but proving is also possible later on by the help of other methods. Now, the disadvantages. There are two important disadvantages of this method. This method is helpless and useless if there is no prior knowledge of causal relationship. Without prior knowledge of causal relationship, we cannot make use of this method. And the other point of disadvantage is that the method cannot be applied if complex effect cannot be analyzed further or cannot be simplified. If there is a complex effect and it cannot be further analyzed or it cannot be simplified, then method of residues cannot be applied, because subduction or deduction is not possible. So, in this manner we have the fifth method, method of residues, which is almost a deductive method, mathematical method, a method of modification of method of difference, and that helps us in discovering certain causal relationship. This is how we have finished all the 5 experimental methods or methods of experimental inquiry given by Mill, which constitutes the method of agreement, method of difference, method of joint method of agreement and difference, the method of concomitant variation, and the method of residues. And all these 5 methods follow 4 principles of elimination, 3 principles of elimination given by Mill, and the 4th one given by Joseph. And all we can find symbolical examples, we can find concrete examples, we can find the characteristics, we can find the advantages, and we can find the disadvantages of the methods. It is up to a logician or up to the person concerned to utilize which method is applicable for which purpose of detecting the causal relationship, and that is important, the use of the principle of elimination, and on the basis of principle of elimination we can decide the application of the method and we can reach at the causal relationship. So, this is how the method of experimental inquiry is very much helpful in order to reach out the relation of causation, and as you know, causation is one of the formal grounds of induction that is essential for inductive logic or inductive procedure, that is possible by the help of Mill's method of experimental inquiry. Thank you.